Hello everyone, thanks for tuning up to my Saturday live stream from Odessa Old Town. As always, at 1 p.m. GMT I go live from our Facebook page at Odessa Walks, and then we upload a recorded live on our YouTube channel. So today we are walking from the Duke is behind me, towards Catherine Square and the monument to the city's founders. We're gonna also talk about local cafes and restaurants. We're gonna glimpse at the local cafes which are here in this neighborhood, and that's for the first time in our live streams. And we're also gonna do some window shopping for the first time ever. I've already been at least 3 times here on the spot, which is soaked in Odessa's history. I started 2 live streams from here. We walked along Primorsky boulevard about a month ago. You can look up these live streams on our YouTube channel here. And I finished one live stream walking up the Potemkin staircase, also here by the Duke. Indeed, it's one of the most popular spots in the city. Lots of public gatherings, if they're organized by the city's administration, they're organized here by the Duke. If locals want to meet with one another here in this part of the old town, they oftentimes meet by the Duke. If some public gatherings happen in the city, they happen by the Duke. A very popular place. Today it's not so much crowded because it's Saturday afternoon and not that many people because of the weather. Today is the 3rd day of the big Jewish holiday Hanukkah, and it's a traditional spot of Hanukkah in the city, right by the monument to the French aristocrat who was the first official governor in the city. So this year has been pretty strange, difficult. The year turned the world upside down, but at least one thing in the city remained unchanged: the place of the Hanukkah Menorah. Here's the boulevard, Primorsky Boulevard. We did 2 live streams from here. You can look them up on our YouTube channel. The Black Sea and the Odessa Harbor and the commercial port are in front of you. You can barely see them because of the weather. Let me pull up the view. That's the passenger terminal and the Hotel Odessa. And today we're gonna head towards that pink building, which is part of Catherine Square. All these houses which you see had been built by the early 1830s. They were privately owned, with the exception of these 2 yellow buildings. This one belonged to the city's administration and housed different legal courts and the public library. And the other one, which is absolutely identical, was the Hotel St. Petersburg, a very posh and quite expensive hotel in the 1800s. Among its guests were a famous American writer, Mark Twain, and a prominent musician, Rachmaninoff. Today, this building has apartments, privately owned apartments, on the 2nd and the 3rd floor, and the 1st floor until this year was occupied by a restaurant. Unfortunately, the restaurant went bankrupt, and now the space is empty. And the 2nd building belongs to a local construction company, which uses it as their headquarters. And then it turns out the 1st floor to the restaurants. The first coffee place here is the Francois coffee place. The sign says coffee and croissants, and then in Ukrainian language, Americano, latte, croissants, hot dogs, and hot drinks. And here are the competitors. These coffee cars are owned by several big companies. They appeared in 2012 and it was a completely new concept in the city. The whole concept of buying coffee to go was completely unfamiliar. One of the most famous brands is this car. The sign says, "A coffee guy, Boris." Here's Boris. So these cars are rented by individuals. That's how they make some money, by selling coffee, hot chocolate, glue wine in the winter. And today this place is very popular among the locals because the coffee is quite decent and the price is nice. And the first shop here on this one of the main squares is the souvenir shop. Souvenirs from Odessa. It's very difficult to buy authentic souvenirs in this place. Most of them are made in Asia, in China and Vietnam, and shipped here. So here you can see the dolls, a Father Frost. There's still a tradition to put such Father Frost under the Christmas tree. And there in the back are some Matryoshka dolls. Nothing new. Cigar lounge. Cigars, tobacco and alcohol. You probably know by now that we love going behind the facades of the listed buildings. And this live stream is no exception. We're gonna check out the courtyard, which is in the back of this beautiful yellow building. According to the city plan, houses had to be built as close to the road as possible. Wall to wall, there was such arch for the carriages. And the only space people had was in the back of the house. In rich neighborhoods, such space was used to park carriages. In a way, today this space also is used to park carriages, modern cars. And this is how that beautiful yellow building looks from the back. It's a nice mural painting. And a cute fountain statue. The apartments inside the building are privately owned, but the building itself is owned by the government, and it's the city's administration and the city which is supposed to take care of the building. The sign says, "Don't park the cars at the entrance, the emergency exit." And here is one of the most popular places among the locals for coffee and breakfast, especially when the weather is nice, and there are tables out there with the chairs, so you can grab a coffee and sit here with a view on the bay. There's lots of morning sun here and some sea breeze. Cafe 45. Here's the Sofitel, opened 5 years ago. The building is privately owned by Odessa locals who live abroad. They put their money into restoration of the building, and then they decided to turn it into the hotel. and made a deal with Sofitel to be part of the chain. It's probably the most posh hotel in the Old Town. But today, you can get a room there for €100. Central bar, drinks, eatery and more. In spring, summer and early fall, this road is packed with tables with chairs and summer terraces. And one of the most popular places here on this road to have some food, lunch or dinner, is this Dyzengof cafe. If you've ever been to Israel, in Tel Aviv, there is one of the main squares which is named Dyzengof. He was the first mayor of Tel Aviv, but before actually becoming the mayor, he lived here, he graduated from college here, he worked here, and in 1905 left Odessa for Palestine, where he later became the mayor of Tel Aviv. That's the connection. They serve Tel Aviv and Meir. Meir is the first name of Dyzengof. Tel Aviv and Meir breakfasts. Nice shakshuka. The place is great both for vegetarians and meat lovers. Main courses vary from lots of beans dishes, rabbit, pasta with rabbit, meat dishes, and all sorts of different soups. Now let me cross the road. See, the city is putting up some Christmas lights. This beautiful building was owned by a prominent Jewish family. They controlled 34% of sugar beets production in the Russian Empire in the late 1800s. All these mansions were once private residences. Then they were nationalized after the 1917 revolution and were converted into the apartments and communal flats. In 1990s, the flats were privatized by people who were living there. Some buildings became privately owned. Bookstore, books and more. The sign says the bookstore, Odessa's book. 30% discount. Books, guidebooks, photo albums and gifts, and you can enter the store only with facial cover. And Astra print store, a local designer store, Vitalina Iba, whoever she is. This beautiful house mostly consists of privately owned apartments. Also, some of the apartments are converted into the commercial offices. Beautiful old door with a coded entrance. It's a listed house built in 1901-1902 on Catherine Street, number 6. And now let's go check out the courtyard. Staff center of the crewing company. That's recruitment for the sea shipment companies. Lots of locals are involved in this. And here's a pretty decent courtyard. This building is gorgeous. The way those courtyards look oftentimes depends on the people who live in these buildings. If they're willing to pay, then the courtyards look nice. If they're not willing to pay, they can look pretty shabby, although might be located right in the heart of. Now let's get outside and walk towards that pink building. We're going to Catherine Square. That's the last stop of today's live stream. Here's the monument to Odessa's founders. I'll talk about it in a bit. And here's the square, which is named after Saint Catherine. In 1901, at the architectural conference in Paris, the square was recognized as the best architectural complex built in Europe that year. I'm walking around the monument so that you can get the sea view. It's pretty foggy, but down there is the harbor. And here's the monument to the city's founders. The Empress Catherine on top, and the statues of 4 men who were critical in the city's founding. The square and this monument have very interesting history. For the sake of this live stream, I'm gonna sum it up. So just a few fun facts. The statue was here for 20 years, up until the Bolshevik Revolution. In 1920s, when the Bolsheviks came here, of course they couldn't live with the monument to the Empress. So they moved the statues away, and guess who they put instead? Karl Marx. So Karl Marx was on top of this column. Let me flip the camera. The bust of Marx was up there on top of the column instead of Catherine. Then the bust was replaced with a proper statue, which again was put up there on top of the column. Then after 1941, when the city was occupied by the Romanians and the Nazis, the statue was put away. Then in 1960s, during the Soviets, they put here the monument to the battleship Potemkin sailors. So the monument of the battleship Potemkin sailors stood exactly here on this spot, and the sailors looked in the direction of Karl Marx Street. Then in the late 1990s, the city's administration decided to give back the original names to the streets. So we got rid of the Soviet names. And then in the early 2000s, the decision was made to restore the original statue of the city's founders. So in 2007, this monument was put back. And then came the Ukrainian nationalists who said that it's wrong. And this debate still goes on. So Catherine is standing here on top of the column, pointing at the harbor. And then the Duke is standing down there, welcoming people into the city. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we'll continue from this square. I'll tell you why it's named Catherine Square, why the street is named Catherine Street, and we're gonna walk towards the residential part of the Old Town and talk a little bit about the musical heritage, about the Tolstoy family, and see a palace and a couple of very beautiful mansions. Enjoy your Saturday. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.